The future isn't something we enter, it is something we create. I think this is a really big takeaway as well. We are empowered to create our well-being. We are empowered to create the conditions for our well-being. There are lots and lots of things that we can't control, but there's a lot that we absolutely can control in terms of how we spend our time, the people that we're with, how we frame and think about challenges that are in front of us. So let's talk some more about that. All right, more considerations for self-care. This is the idea of saying no versus saying yes. I love this one. This is the narrative. Say no, and after that, say no again, because no is the thing that will keep you safe from all the people that are trying to get something from you. That may very well be true for you. And so when you're saying no and being planful about your no's, feel good about that. That's terrific. And give yourself permission to say yes. Sometimes I think we don't focus enough on the yeses that we say in terms of self-care. So when you say yes to something that you're excited about, that can be a source of self-care. When you say yes to one more thing, but it's absolutely something that you're doing and you're building relationships in the process, that's a big deal. Here's something else. Your perception of time is expanded when you're doing things that you love to do. So if you don't have time on your plate in a kind of logical way, thinking about, I don't know, going and working in the community garden, but you love to do it and it energizes you and you love the people that you're side by side weeding the garden with, that investment of time will actually pay you back in terms of your perception of time overall. So I like this idea that time can be kind of elastic. It gives me almost more of a sense of control over my calendar when I look at how booked all of my days are. When you say yes to things that stimulate you, interest you, and are rewarding and fulfilling for you, that is absolutely a source of self-care. So say yes when you want to say yes. Feel free to do that. And say your healthy no's, of course, as well. Another thing to think about from a self-care perspective is the idea of perfection versus excellence. A lot of times we feel like we need to be perfect. We don't necessarily focus on the process as much as we focus on the outcome of perfection, but we know that the process is a really important part of it. There is absolutely a link between perfectionism and depression or burnout or anxiety. And so one of the things we can do is be really planful about what we're trying to do well and be satisfied with excellence when that's appropriate. I did this article on perfectionism and a lot of people pushed back and said, you know, I'm not sure I'm really on board with this. I am an engineer at an organization that does infrastructure and I'm designing bridges. I'm pretty sure you want me to do that perfectly, because if you're driving over the bridge I designed, you do not want me to not be worried about perfection. And I said, yes, please continue with perfection in terms of the infrastructure. However, we can also think about what are the elements of our work that are good enough. Like nobody will know the difference if we don't absolutely try to do it perfectly. Pilots don't fly actively for every flight, the whole flight through. They're usually very, very active on takeoff and landing, and then often they'll go on autopilot in the mid part of the journey. We can think about that for ourselves as well. The other thing about perfectionism is that that can be different than seeking to be perfect. A lot of times perfectionism is that overwork, it's that obsessiveness, it's that negative energy that we can put beyond the point that we need to. So a self-care element is to be really focused on excellence, doing our best, bringing our best every day. And here's something else. We can resist comparisons. There's a wonderful quote that says, comparison is the thief of joy. And a lot of times we judge ourselves more harshly than we should because we're comparing and comparing and comparing with social media. So when we resist comparison, it's actually really, really healthy in terms of the extent to which we feel like we're doing a great job and the extent to which we can feel good about that and know that we're making our best contribution.